Hello, my name's Amy and welcome back to another writing vlog. It is currently the middle of Sunday afternoon and I'm expecting this vlog to be a weekly look at my writing life. I'm starting the vlog a little bit early though, just because the next week is looking very busy. My work life is pretty hectic right now and we are spending a lot of time working on our barn conversion. So I am having to try and fit both video making and writing in between everything else. But I do have one very specific goal for the writing week ahead, and that is to hit 50,000 words on my current work in progress. This is a fantasy novel. It is a sequel to a book that came out last year. It's going really well so far. I have enjoyed the drafting process a lot and I don't feel like there are going to be too many major structural edits when I get to that stage, but I do have to finish the draft first, and over the last week I have definitely slowed down quite a lot. Life has been busy and I am well into the second half of the book now. I'm at just over 45,000 words and honestly my momentum has been slipping a little bit more than I would have liked. So far I've averaged about 1,400 words written every day this year, which is well above my average for previous years, and I would like to stick to that for as long as possible. So 50k is definitely the goal this week. Fingers crossed I will be able to hit it and hopefully get beyond it too. Let's get to it. But let's light the fire first because it is freezing in here. Good morning. It is Monday and it is very sunny. My camera does not quite know what to do with the sunlight. Honestly, after so many weeks and weeks of rain and cloud, I'm kind of feeling the same way. So this morning is definitely a work day. My camera is perched on top of my roller iron. I have been busy doing the laundry this morning and I'm just taking a quick break. I should definitely be using this break to write and I'm not. There isn't really a good reason for that apart from when I've taken a break from a project for a few days, I end up with this feeling of apprehension about going back to it, and I'm definitely feeling that this morning. There is no good reason for it. The story is going fine. I have plans for where it's going next. I could pick it up and write a few hundred words in this lull very easily, but I also find at the moment I'm preferring to focus on one thing at once. This isn't always possible, but when I can, I spend one day doing laundry, one day cleaning, and then if I can find the time, I like to have a full day or even just a morning or an afternoon to write. I used to be so good at writing in the cracks between everything else, and I don't know if that's a skill I've lost or if I was just kidding myself in the past about how effective it was. So far this has been a writing vlog where I have not actually written anything, but I do have big goals for this week. I would like to write about 10,000 words overall, and as I said, I definitely want to hit 50,000 words in my current manuscript, so I am going to have to get the laptop out at some point. Right now there is a chance I'm going to be spending the next couple of hours in the barn. My partner and my dad are currently digging out for the next round of underpinning, which means a lot of soil has to come out, and we have a motorised wheelbarrow which we should be using to bring the soil out of the barn, but it's not currently working, which means I might be on wheelbarrowing duties today. So I might not get to writing until tonight, but I am determined to get to it eventually. Good morning. It is Tuesday. It is about 8:30. I am back in front of the fire because it is so cold outside this morning. I am also back in my thermals and work clothes because it is largely going to be another day of digging in the barn. But I did manage to write last night. It wasn't until about 7 o'clock in the evening that I finally got to sit down to my laptop, but I wrote about 1,000 words. So that's a little bit below my current daily target, which is more like 1,400 to 1,500. But honestly, yesterday was so busy that just something was better than nothing, and I think today is going to be similar. It has also just started raining, you can possibly hear that, so that's going to make today even more fun. One thing I did do last night was take a few minutes just to make some notes on where the current chapter I'm writing is going. In fact, I will show you. I think there can be a bit of a weird mystique about how people plot and outline books, as though it's incredibly complicated, but I've never found it so. Usually when I'm plotting out a chapter, it will just look something like this. We have literally there just got a list of plot point after plot point. Usually when I sit down with pen and paper, the chapter or the scene will kind of develop in my head as I write. Having to write on paper slows me down a little bit and just gives my brain time to process the story. So there's only about 10 minutes of work there, but it just gave me the clarity I needed to know where this chapter is going, which definitely speeded up the writing last night and will continue to do so today. I've probably got another day or two of work on this particular chapter, but now I know where it's going and that makes things much easier. And a lot of my plotting works in the same way. So for example, on this page you can see there are arrows leading from plot point to plot point. This is just because I think of one thing, then I think of something that needs to come before it, and I'm just drawing arrows for myself to show the order that events need to take place in. And another thing I do, which you can see on this page, is I work through plot problems. What you can see on this side is we've got two columns with two sets of arrows. This is me deciding between two different directions the story could go in. I basically write at the top the plot point I could write, and then I work through it logically from there. How will that affect the rest of the story? Does it fit with what I've already got? Does it actually make sense? In this example, you can see I went with this option here, and then we've got lots of notes carrying on down the page and onto the next page as I continue to work through the story. And notebooks like this really are just my brain in paper form. It definitely works better for me doing this on paper. Somehow I just think differently with a pen in my hand. But there is nothing complicated about it. I will ask myself a question. For example, what would this character do next? And then I will attempt to answer it. Sometimes there will be a whole list of potential bullet point options, and then I will pick the one I like best. Then from there I will expound on where that could take the story, why the characters are acting the way they are, how that ties into the world building. But there are no spreadsheets, there are no complicated character sheets. I will have in the back of my mind that I am working towards, say, a big twist or the midpoint, but I have a fairly good idea at this point of how many plot points I need to fill a certain number of words. That's just from experience and from drafting a lot of books. So typically when I've written out a set number of plot points, I will just have a feeling that I have enough material to fill a certain section of the book. So I just thought I would show you that because I think a lot of writers work themselves into knots over plotting and make it very complicated. And sometimes, yes, a chart or a spreadsheet will really help when you need that extra clarity, but sometimes the plotting process doesn't need to be complicated. It can just be a few sentences written down on a sheet of paper. Now, I have got a few more minutes before I need to go and start work out in the rain. Not really looking forward to it this morning. I might just see if I can squeeze in 10 or 15 minutes of writing, but it is going to be a very busy day, so I'm not quite sure how much I'm going to get done today. I did debate the wisdom of vlogging this week actually, but I feel feel that when I put up vlogs where I have a huge amount of writing time, I need to balance them out with the weeks where I am really busy and I don't get anywhere near my goals. It is about 3:30. I am very tired. It is very warm in the caravan this afternoon and I could so easily fall asleep. I ended up not writing at all this morning. I just didn't have time. We were straight out into the barn before the weather got too bad and we spent the morning digging holes, pouring concrete. I spent a lot of time wheeling wheelbarrows back and forth, but we are now done in the barn for the week. I kind of thought we might be working in there tomorrow as well, but just with the way our schedule is going to work out this week, we haven't got time to start the next part of the work, so we're putting that on hold, which has meant that this afternoon I have actually had some unexpected writing time. I've been feeling a little bit distracted, I have to be honest. Partly this is because I am tired, I've been working hard and I still haven't adjusted to the clocks changing at the weekend. And also it's because I'm into the second half of this book and I do always get a bit distracted in this stage. I kind of have itchy feet. I start thinking about every single other book I could be working on right now, and that's not particularly helpful, but it's just the direction my mind goes in. So I just have to make myself focus. I have been doing that by setting myself a timer. I decided to try something a bit different this afternoon. Instead of doing individual sprints of say 20 or 30 minutes, I have set myself an hour timer with the caveat that I don't have to write for an hour at one stretch. I have the entire afternoon and evening to complete that hour of writing. So far I've done about 35 minutes and written about 1100 words. If I consistently wrote for an hour every single day, I would probably write about 2000 words a day, which is way more than I am currently managing. I think really that's a goal I'm building up to at the moment. I can pretty much always find an hour in my day, but I don't always have the mental energy to write for an entire hour. So I've done part of my writing and I will do a little bit more now and probably some more tonight. I will split my final 25 minutes up into maybe a 10-minute session and a 15-minute session. That for me is not quite as efficient as writing in full 30-minute sprints, but it's just what I need to do today because I am tired, I am distracted, it's been a very busy day, and anything that gets me to sit down at the laptop even for a few minutes is worthwhile. And I've also been baking. I made some fruit tea cakes. They are just doing their final rise now before they go in the oven, so I have that to look forward to as well. What I completely forgot to say is that I am closing on 48,000 words in the manuscript, which means I have about 2,000 words left to go to hit 50k. That, you will remember, was my goal for this week as a whole, and it is only Tuesday afternoon, so I'm pretty confident about hitting that. However, my entire target for the week was something like 10,000 words, and the squares that I cross off in my bullet journal as I write are looking a little bit empty right now. They are better than when I filmed them this morning, but it has been a bit slow progress.